at the end of the day, even if he gives all the money, even if the Kentucky GOP says, yeah, let's do it, the people that have to actually say, yes, you can do this, is the Republican National Committee.
Wah, wah, wah.
Oh, no.
And, oh, no.
Welcome to the Lions of Liberty podcast. Here is your host, your guide, your shining beacon of liberty, Marc Clair.
Welcome back, guys and gals, to the Lions of Liberty podcast. This is episode number 133. It's not just any episode, though. It's another edition of our Rand Paul analysis show known as
Rand Pauluses and Minuses.
Rand, Pauluses, and Minuses. To find out more about the things you'll hear talked about in the show, head over to our website, lionsofliberty.com/133 for the full show notes. Now, before we get into the show, I want to tell you about our great sponsors, starting with our friends at Health Excellence Select, because if you're anything like me, you got a major case of sticker shock when the Obamacare mandates went into effect, especially if you purchased your own insurance like I did. But there is an affordable alternative to the standard corporate health insurance. It is brought to you by our friends at Health Excellence Select. You can find out more over at lionsofliberty.com/health. We are also sponsored by LibertyManiacs.com, your home for all the political and satirical gear you need for election season. As a listener of the show, you can receive a 10% discount off your entire order by using the code, that's right, Lions of Liberty. And here we are. Once again. I say once again because we actually, I'll let you guys in on a secret. We actually recorded about 3 minutes of this show. Well, we didn't record it, is the funny part. We did about 3 minutes of the show once already, but I wasn't recording at all. So we're doing it all again. But here he is again for the first time to you, my co-host for this episode of Rand, Pauluses and Minuses, Mr. Brian McWilliams.
I'm back, baby, for the third time, since we already recorded once and several other times. But yes, I'm back, desperately trying to remember what I said the first time we almost recorded.
It was gold, let me tell you.
It was gold. And I don't say that just because I believe in investing in gold. I believe it's just the fact that it was
hint, wink, nudge.
Podcast gold. But yes, I'm here. I'm proud to say that Mark and I were discussing a little something earlier. I'm trying to remember. But basically,
the Tom Woods podcast.
Tom Woods podcast.
The first thing any good podcast does is promote someone else's podcast.
That's right.
But we did both listen to the Tom Woods had both Walter Block and Scott Horton on to debate the subject of this very show, which is Rand Paul recently.
Exactly. And they basically did a debate, his Pauluses and Minuses. And I had, as I've stated,
they didn't use the term, of course.
Didn't use the term because that would be pure plagiarism. But I would say stealing the concept straight from this show, especially since all three have been on this show discussing Rand Paul. Maybe not Tom Woods, but at least the other two.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I mentioned Rand when I talked to Tom Woods, but I had Walter Block on the show. We discussed his endorsement of Tom Woods, and then we did our last episode of this show we did a whole episode with Scott Horton talking about the Iran deal. We convened an emergency session with our foreign policy expert Scott Horton.
Yeah.
So we've gotten both those views separately. I was kicking myself when I saw Tom Woods had them both on. Of course, that would be a brilliant thing to do. So of course Tom Woods beat me to it, just like all the other things he's beaten me to. So what is the latest here with Rand? And enough about other people's shows. What's the latest with the Rand news here? What's been in the headlines recently?
Well, there's a lot. I mean, clearly the debate happened. We don't need to go into that here because people should listen to our debate recap show. Which is, of course,
entire podcast of several of our associates and us drinking liquor and talking about the GOP debate for a solid hour. I believe that was episode number 130. So if you've been following the pattern here, you should know you can find the show notes for that and the full episode at lionsofliberty.com/130. While I'm plugging, where can you find the full archive of this program as well as every edition of your weekly column, Rand, Pauluses and Minuses?
Well, you can find that at www.lionsofliberty.com/Rand.
We nailed it!
I know.
Right.
For the first time, I remember to say .com.
Usually you leave off like a W or a slash or
the
something.
Liberty. One time I forgot the Liberty. I was just at Lions of Loving, I think, which is a different site.
Yes.
Very inappropriate. Don't go there.
If you visit that, we had nothing to do with it.
No. I have a little bit of equity in it, but not much. But, okay, so here's the news. So, the debate happened. People can go check that out if they want. But following the debate...
Anything notable from the debate you want to point out? Do you think he did okay?
We
should probably touch on it briefly.
Yeah, real quick. So, a couple things to point out. I thought that Rand actually handled himself pretty well in the debate in the early going. I love that he took on Trump right away and attacked him from the get-go because Trump got more speaking time than even the moderators did. So, attacking him early put him in the mix, especially considering the fact that, as we mentioned before in our recap show, Rand got the least time, and I also cited in the Rand Pauluses and Minuses where I did a debate recap myself. So he got the least time of anybody, I think at 5-something, 5 and a half.
So they're still following the Paul pattern of how you handle debates.
Pretending he's not there.
If your name's Paul, you get the least amount of time. That's been going on for about 6 years.
Right.
Well, 8 years now, I guess.
Now, what Rand did that Ron didn't, though, is interject himself. And now he had, did that in the beginning with Trump. He also did it when with Chris Christie. He got into it hardcore with him. I thought it, really stood strong on the Fourth Amendment, on being anti-NSA, and he really nailed Christie with a solid body blow. Of course, it's hard to miss with the body blows on Christie, but he really got him right with a gut shot. And that Christie said, I was there, and I had warrants for people, and I put people on trial. And Rand said, yeah, you had warrants for that. With NSA spying, there's no warrants involved in any of this. It's just people getting thrown under the umbrella of surveillance. So I think those points he did a really great job on. One of the I'd say things I wasn't so happy about was he waffled again on the Iran deal. He kind of said, I didn't support it, but waffled on it. He also waffled on ISIS and how he pulled back from some earlier comments he made saying that the U.S. created ISIS, which I agree with, and didn't really go into the whole concept of blowback, which of course we know Ron Paul would have.
So he didn't have his Giuliani moment.
No, he didn't.
But the Christie stuff was pretty good. I don't think it shattered anyone's worldview like the Ron Paul Giuliani exchange did back in 2007.
No, but the Christie thing was great. That was probably the most memorable moment from the debate as far as he goes. But then he pulled back later on and he didn't really interject as much. Maybe he was threatened by the moderators or Fox that they were just going to cut off all the questions for him. But he really disappeared in the second half.
Wait, did you just put out a random conspiracy theory that Rand Paul was threatened before the debate?
I honestly believe it. I think it was because, look, if you looked at the debate...
It's quite a bold claim.
I mean, we were live tweeting it and we're like, yeah, he's going after him. But then, where was he? Where was he in the second half? He wasn't interjecting anymore. He wasn't really taking part in the conversation except when he was questioned.
So you think because he went out on his own...
I think they put the dampers on. They put the kibosh on him.
If he played nice, they might have given him some more time, but they didn't like that he stepped out of bounds and jumped into the Trump things. All right, pal.
Exactly.
Now you get no questions.
I think that is exactly what happened. But speaking of Trump, now that we've talked about the debate, which, by the way, what did you think of the debate?
I thought it was all right, but you're right. I mean, it was mostly a reality show, like we've talked about a million times. Yeah. But I mean, it was amazing. I know you were talking about during the debate that, all right, when they're talking about race issues, it doesn't go to Rand Paul. They talk about who's got the tax plan, doesn't go to Rand Paul. Right. Who's got by far the most radical tax plan.
Huckabee had the 20% flat tax. Huckabee basically copied.
Huckabee basically presented Rand's plan with the 6.5% increase and got all this applause for that. Imagine if Rand Paul said, yeah, mine's like that, but way lower.
And that's where it's shocking he didn't say that. So that's why, again, I'm telling you, I'm just going to say, they put the ball gag in his mouth and he's putting on a gimp suit.
Oh, boy.
I'm keeping
ball gags and gimp suits. Rand Paul 2016.
Rand Paul 2016, ball gags, gimp suits, one sentence earlier.
That's what I wanted to say. Were there any one sentence earlier moments?
Rand Paul, one sentence earlier.
Debate, or do you think he was what he did say, the little time he got was all on the up and up?
Shockingly, I think I couldn't remember any one sentence earlier moments. He did have some great one-liners. One such one-liner was, I don't want my guns or my marriage registered with the government or registered in Washington.
He had that one just wound up. He's like, I'm going to just say this whenever I can possibly relate it to
exactly. And he had another one later that I can't pull off the top of my head, but he had a few bumper stickers.
Yeah. Bumper stickers. Cool. We need to get some bumper stickers.
So Paulus for this, even though I say I'll give him a Paulus for his performance. However, a lot of people in the media, especially the conservatives, saying, "Oh, he had a terrible performance." I don't understand how. He handled himself well. He got his points across. He just wasn't given shit for an opportunity to do it.
Do you give Megyn Kelly a Paulus or minus? Does she not get judged on that scale?
I don't think I can judge her on that scale. I'll give her a...
We should probably leave our Megyn Kelly discussion for off the air.
Yeah, she's a very attractive woman, I'll say that.
She's all right.
Anywho,
Hell of a journalist.
Following the debate, though...
Anywho. Wait, before, do you think the threats that you're referring to are in any way related to the Jesse Benton indictment, which came out shortly, like, at the same time of this debate? Or basically, I think a couple days before? Any relation?
It's possible.
Hey, let's put some stuff that makes Rand Paul look bad in the news. You know, and that's what even they were saying.
They were saying it. His campaign was saying it. I guess maybe. But when you look at the end of the day, Rand is still a pretty long shot for the nomination. It would be, maybe they just were saying, well, we'll just shoot everybody that we can shoot with anything we can find. But it's possible they put it out to time it coincidentally with the debates. Whether or not it actually has any bearing on it, I don't know. I gave him a minus for that specific thing. And what we're talking about is basically that Jesse Benton, who is married into the Paul clan after meeting Ron Paul's granddaughter on the campaign trail, basically has been indicted for giving a senator, Kent Sorensen, for giving him money to change his endorsement from Bachmann to Ron. So it has nothing to do with Rand in any way, which again is kind of why it's questionable.
It's some of the same characters.
Right. So Benton was running Rand's super PAC, but you're not supposed to be talking directly to those people anyway. We all know they do somehow, some way, probably through pass notes at the back of the classroom.
I mean, they're probably Facebook friends.
Yeah, you'd think.
Are there secret Facebook chats between Rand and Jesse?
Well, wouldn't the greatest way for them to communicate be for Jesse Benton to send Rand maybe a birthday card with some back and forth? Maybe they're sending each other happy Easter cards.
Are you allowed to even send family greetings?
You have to be, right? How are they going to stop you from getting together as family?
If it's like, happy birthday, Jesse. There's a secret note in there P.S. What do I do next?
Right. Jesse Benton's knocking up Ron Paul's granddaughter just to have Rand over so he can talk about him. Look, a new baby now. What are we going to do with the campaign?
All right. But I'm going to say forever, hopefully, enough about Jesse Benton because luckily, I think this is obviously he stepped down from the Super PAC and now we're not going to hear about him again for a while.
Until he goes to jail.
Until he goes to jail, which is, I don't want him to go to jail. I don't know. I don't think he's that bad a guy, probably. He's just made some missteps.
A little bit of an oopsie. We'll see. Oopsies.
We'll see. We'll see what happens with Jesse. So we do get a minus out of the Jesse Benton incident.
You got a big minus for that one.
But the big news, I think, that came out very recently, I don't know if it was over the weekend or maybe the end of last week, is that Randall here got a little Randy Pants. I'm sorry, we haven't used the hashtag. Hashtag Randy Pants. Whenever you guys are talking about this show, tweeting it out like you guys always do, use the hashtag Randy Pants. Let's keep that puppy trending. But who gave their big thumbs up endorsement to Rand this week?
Well, it was not Jesse the Body Ventura.
No, it was not.
Who, as we know, threw his lot in with one Donald Trump. But
unbelievable.
It was somebody even more impressive than Jesse the Body. And that's one Ron Paul!
Wow, Ron Paul actually endorsed his son.
Can you believe it?
8 months after he first declared he was running for president.
And you were talking about, if you want to, pull up that Onion article Mark was referencing earlier. Onion is so true to life sometimes.
Even today, I think if you Google Ron Paul endorsement, you'll get the Onion article first. Well, that was the article that said, Ron Paul withholding presidential endorsement until true libertarian candidate enters the race. That one's been going around for a couple months here.
Yeah, it is hilariously true. In a way. But yeah, Ron finally came out and said, yes, Rand is the candidate. Now, granted, he says he's the closest one to his values and the most libertarian candidate, that's out there. So he was pretty strong in it. I was worried that he was going to be like, look, he's great. He's not my favorite, but he's wonderful. But no, he came out pretty strong to support him. Yeah. So that was good. Good on Ron. However, I offered a little bit of a conspiracy theory.
Ooh.
Another one.
Our second one of the show.
A second one.
This is slowly evolving to the Alex Jones show.
I can't wait. Well, hey, he's making
a lot
more money than we are.
Rand Paul's really a secret globalist.
We should get Alex on the show to debate somebody else that's equally crazy.
Alex Jones versus Jesse Ventura on the next Rand Pauluses and Minuses.
Yes, let's make that happen.
Oh boy!
So here's my theory, though, and it's not. I guess you could call it conspiracy, but I think it's something where Ron waited to endorse Rand, and this might be the best thing. He was waiting, and a lot of people were talking about it, which is in itself kind of interesting. Just keeping him in the news a little bit, but I think if he had come out right at the start and been like, yep, great, he's the best, I'll endorse him, people would be like, of course he's going to endorse him. He's his son after all, he has to endorse him. And by waiting a little bit longer, it's actually made that endorsement so much more important. And more meaningful, because now Rand's out there, his campaign's out there, he's done a debate, and after a lot of people, like us, have started to question Rand, whether or not we should support him, and obviously Scott Horton and Walter Block will be going at it, and Tom Woods, everybody's questioning whether or not libertarians should support him. You've got Ron Paul riding in on his white steed and saying, hey, yes, you should support Rand, he's the best candidate out there, go for it.
I gotta tell you, listening to that debate, I don't think Ron Paul's convincing Scott Horton.
No, I don't think he is.
I'm pretty damn sure. Yeah, so I would like to offer a counter conspiracy theory.
Please do.
Our third conspiracy theory on Rand, Pauluses and Minuses.
What's our conspiracy count?
Edition. Wait, that's the third conspiracy of the show. All right. So, my conspiracy theory, that's not really a conspiracy theory, it's just a theory.
Yeah, they're not like conspiracy theory.
I think.
But also aliens. There you go.
There was all this news when the campaign first started that, Rand Paul, there's all these articles like Ron Paul going to be distancing from the campaign. Ron Paul won't be on the campaign trail. Ron Paul is going to do his own thing, be educational, be on the side, saying whatever he thinks and not being involved in the Rand Paul campaign. Then we have a debate. Then we see poll numbers slipping. Then we see Rand, polling 2% in Iowa. Not very encouraging numbers.
Especially when Ron had a really strong showing in Iowa.
Some would say Ron Paul should have won the Iowa caucus, and there were shenanigans that
like
put
me.
Santorum over the top. Another conspiracy there.
Yeah.
That was one that we actually talked about, I think, 4 years ago.
Yeah.
But, my theory is that they were never really planning to do an endorsement of this level, but there's some panic in the campaign, even though the public face of the campaign has been, oh no, it's a slow build, everything's organized, we got our people on the ground, we're doing all these things. Come on, you can't tell me that they're not panicking and they don't think that the campaign is not taking off as they once hoped. And I would agree with Scott Horton on the reason for that, or one of the main reasons, is that Rand Paul has kind of futzed around in that one area of foreign policy where all those Republicans out there that said, oh, I support Ron Paul. Even the common thing you hear, I'm a libertarian on everything except foreign policy. I'm not sure about that. I think we do need to be bombing the hell out of the world. And that's what a lot of people just believe, okay? So Rand is in there. That's the one thing he's futzing around with, but that's the major thing that got a lot of people fired up. Or that and the Fed stuff. Ron Paul was coming out, and the Fed. I mean, Rand has said some stuff, like he has an audit the Fed bill, but he's not doing the same thing Ron was at all. So those two issues, more the foreign policy, I think, have really made Rand suffer. The grassroots is not fired up. I was fired up to donate money to Ron Paul because of the things he was saying, not because of his odds to win. I haven't given a dime to the Rand Paul campaign. And I don't think I'm unique in that. And it's not because I'm bitter or hate him. I mean, I like a lot of things about him, but he has not inspired me to, drop what I'm doing, to spend my hard-earned money, to hit the pavement and fight for him because he's saying all the things I believe in. He has not done that. So I think that, that's the reason that he's not getting the extremely, the campaign taking off, and you don't see 1,000 Rand Paul memes. I mean, I see Bernie Sanders all over my Facebook feed. And now I finally get it. I finally get why some people were getting a little annoyed with my Facebook post of Ron Paul in 2008 and 2012. I get it. I feel the burn.
Yeah, I know. It's all come back around.
So I think they finally said, they called Ron Paul and they said, we need this to happen. We need you to step in. If you want Rand to be president, I have no reason to think he doesn't mean the endorsement. I think if it's his son, he probably does think he's the best guy for the job out of all the people that, being
and
presented.
According to Walter Block, he still is the best man for the job,
exactly.
But, whether Ron supports him or not.
Yeah, and I think Ron, but I do want to read from his statement here. I mean, who knows? I don't even know if Ron wrote this statement or if it's like some campaign.
Hopefully, it's not ghostwritten like the letters of old that were
Jack
brought
Hunter
up to disparage him.
Whoever wrote the racist newsletters, I think, wrote this.
I endorse Rand,
Jeffrey
but also
Tucker.
I hate black people. No.
Anyway.
Moving on. No need to dig up.
But I want to read this one part. He says, remember, truth is treason in the empire of lies, and nowhere is that more true than when it comes to Washington, D.C. and their media mouthpieces. Even where Rand and I do have minor differences of opinion, I would take Rand's position over any of his opponents in both parties every time. Now, you know what? I got to take exception with a little bit of this, is that for all the talk that Ron Paul does about being against the left-right paradigm and, the two corporatist parties, he's really playing right into that narrative right here. He's saying, yeah, you only have two options, Republicans and Democrats. And if you don't like any of those guys, I mean, look at them. Rand's the best of them. Sure. But, he's kind of shutting down the idea of not supporting those two corporatist parties. And, that rubs me the wrong way.
Well, understandably so. But, in considering what he's doing, he's endorsing Rand. Rand's running on the GOP
Not that I
ticket.
expect to say,
understand.
but vote Libertarian.
Right.
I mean, I get it, but
yeah, exactly.
I doesn't mean I have to like it.
Gary Johnson for life. Did Gary Johnson even announce yet?
No.
Is he going? It's getting a little late in the game.
I don't know, but I'm pretty excited about my guy Steve Kerbell, who I interviewed recently.
Yeah,
you
Stevie
can hear.
K.
That is, of course, episode 131, lionsofliberty.com/131 for a great candidate who's, I know there's at least one good voice of liberty running for office because he killed it, man. He passed the test, the LOL test.
Yes, and that's the only test
Maybe
that
if his
matters.
campaign picks up, we'll do like a Kerbellus or minuses. I don't know.
I'm not sure if that one's going to
You're
sell.
the fun guy.
I don't know if that's going to work with the kids.
All right, well, we'll see. We'll come back to Steve Kerbell, where he's going to be around for many more months. Fighting for the
Maybe we
Libertarian
can call it
nomination.
the K count, like with pitchers.
All right.
We'll give him a
Think about that.
strikeout for every time he has a solid
Yeah,
libertarian move.
people do expect Gary Johnson to run, but he hasn't announced he's running, so we'll see. I mean, well, we don't need to get into the difference.
Maybe he figures. I don't know. I mean, I wonder this. I wonder if he's getting pressure from any side to say, you know what? Look, Rand's the most libertarian-esque candidate. We don't want somebody pulling away from his potential base because he still would be, as Walter Block views it, and as I view it as of right now, as the best chance we have for somebody that at least a lot of their views are more libertarian. Maybe he's getting pressure to say, hey, pull off. Another conspiracy theory number 5.
Paul off. I was going to say, this is like the official Randspiracy episode.
This is. I like it. Hashtag Randspiracy.
Ooh, we got another hashtag.
Hashtag Randy Pants. Hashtag
Randspiracies of hashtag Randy Pants.
Yeah, so I mean, look, that is a possibility.
Tis.
Because all he would do, I mean, let's be honest, at the end of the day, he might pull some libertarian votes away from Rand, but not in such numbers that he's going to win the nomination.
I have a hard time anyone is like threatening Gary Johnson with, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's not like the Libertarian Party even pulled in a lot of votes with Gary Johnson running.
No, that's true.
So,
that's true.
I mean, the number of people who just didn't vote at all greatly surpasses.
It's like it'd be like taking pennies out of a homeless man's cup.
Yeah, it's like, come on. Just let him have a couple pennies.
Not that I don't love Gary Johnson. Go Gary.
Great guy.
Great guy. Great Gary.
All the I mean, I think we could probably say most people that run in the Libertarian Party are gonna be better than Rand Paul, even if they might share the same beliefs behind the scenes, because Rand Paul is still doing that thing where he's catering to the GOP base, and the Libertarian candidates, they're not worried about that because they're the Libertarian Party.
Yeah.
They're not trying to be anything they're not.
Yeah.
Even when we might not agree with them. So that's my goal. I hope the Libertarian Party and 30 parties can just do better and make more headway and fight this monopoly, this legal monopoly that these two parties have on the political system through many various means. But
I think all rational people should agree on there being more parties and less of this biopoly.
Who doesn't want more parties?
Yeah. So here's one thing that Rand is not catering to is the voters of Iowa.
Oh, yeah.
I'll tell you that
There's
much.
a segue.
There's a perfect segue.
Why is that?
Well, let me tell you about it. Rand recently ditched the Iowa State Fair was going, where, it was political capital of the Iowan world between funnel cakes and vomiting on the tilter world. You want to hear some candidates
I'm just going to toss it out there right now. I think next year we should do a live podcast from the Iowa State Fair.
I completely agree. What's the next big state fair coming up that we could get to that's fairly close?
Isn't there a California State Fair soon?
That already happened, but nobody's speaking at that anyway. And if it was, it would probably be Bernie.
Oh yeah, because these guys got to do like the state fair of every like backcountry GOP like district.
Well, they're going to do the early caucus states anyway, or the early primary states. So that's where they're speaking. But Rand didn't go. A bunch of people went. All these other guys, and Rand skipped
the
it.
State
He
fair.
snubbed you, Iowa.
He's not going to wrestle a
Stick
pig
that
or
corn
anything
up your ass. Yes, but you know what he did for a good cause? Because he went for the second year in a row during his summer recess. He went to do pro bono eye surgeries. Last year, I believe it was Guatemala. This year, he went to Haiti. So he's popping people's eyeballs in for free.
Well, that's nice.
So I mean, look, I appreciate that and I'll tell you why. I give him a Paulus for this.
How can you not give a guy a Paulus?
You got to give a Paulus
for fixing people's eyes for free. I mean, I'll give him a Paulus for that too.
Right,
and by the way, I assume you give a Paulus for the Ron Paul endorsement.
I do. Well, of course, he has to get a Paulus.
I will too at the end of the day because
it's Ron.
It's Ron Paul. He gets a plus.
But I will say, Rand saying, "Look, I'm not going to go campaign in Iowa," makes me like him more, simply for the fact that Ron we loved because he was principled, he was dedicated, he didn't always kowtow kowtow to the norm and to the party lines and play by all the rules. He said, this is what I believe in, this is what I'm going to do, and he did it. Now, Rand does not have that exact same dedication. We've seen him waffle on things. We've seen his opinion change. I personally believe that he is being strong-armed by AIPAC and by some of the stronger political forces to really throw support behind Israel, which even though he said he wanted to defund them during debate, which was pretty amazing.
They had the whole he said ultimately kind of thing, like I want to defund everybody, but we got to start with the people that hate us,
right? But
such a I don't know, cookie cutter way of looking at the world. People who hate us, as if all people in Israel love us and all people in the other countries hate. I mean, it's silly,
right? But I will say this: him doing this. It kind of harkened back to that, look, I'm going to do what I want. This is what I believe in. I think this helps people. Advancing my presidential campaign can wait a week until I do this great deed that I said I was going to do and I believe in. So I give him a big plus on that.
The way the polls have been going, I mean, it's probably better for him. He'll probably get more points fixing eyes than he would saying stuff.
True. Unless, another segue. Ready for this?
Yes, but first I will also give him a Paulus.
There you go. Well, I thought you already plussed him.
Did I? Well, he gets another.
Double plus. Double it up.
2 Pauluses.
Double Paulus. Good, like they have in 1941. 1984.
I do not get that.
I don't know why I just referenced Steven Spielberg, the terrible Steven Spielberg film 1941 instead of Orwell's 1984. Whatever. It's been a long Monday.
Were you calling 1984? Wait,
I was thinking 1984 and I said 1941, which is a Steven Spielberg war movie starring John Belushi. That's terrible.
That explains my complete, utter confusion.
Anyway, here you go. Segue into, I do love Rand going after the Donald. Consistently.
Okay. And why is that? You don't think it is what's the phrase? Getting dirty with pigs? Maybe I might still on the Iowa State Fair. But
I do
you
like
wrestle
the
with
phrase.
pigs, expect to get dirty, whatever that old phrase is.
Hey, this is politics. Everybody gets dirty. And for a guy everybody's writing about his early demise because he's been marginalized in the media, going after Trump is the way to be. Trump has been on TV all the time, and I think when I was working out.
The only time
gym,
I saw,
ladies.
I had CNN in the background. I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah, was it the time I was
that's
talking
right.
to you?
We work out.
Yeah, baby. So yeah, CNN's on in the background, and Trump's out there, and who's he talking about? Rand Paul.
I was going to say, that's the only time I saw Rand in the news, too.
Right.
Was when Trump was talking about it.
Right. So the more Rand goes after Trump, the more and Trump's never one to let a slight go without responding. So he's going to make it a point to say something about Rand. So keep on going, man. Keep on shooting those slings and arrows at Trump. That will keep you relevant. And the more you can take him down with logical reason points, maybe you'll actually get some people like, it won't be Trump's people, because the people that like Donald Trump and that actually believe in him are unreachable, in my opinion. But you might get other people that are watching politics, the more rational people than the Trumpians.
He even had a whole ad campaign against Trump, is that right?
He did, yeah. You know what, I should pop it in there I didn't write about it this week, and it came out after I wrote last time. But yeah, he called him a false conservative. But then he also released an ad campaign. His ad campaign basically was using Trump's own words against him, which is the most effective way to do it. And it was where Donald came out and he's supporting Hillary and he's supporting healthcare, single payer healthcare, and all these big progressive issues, which now, of course, he's decided he hates.
All right, so actually, let's just take a look at the ad real quick. Or not a look. Well, a look for us, a listen for the people at home at this attack ad that Rand Paul did against Donald Trump.
In many cases, I probably identify more as a Democrat. I've been around for a long time, and it just seems that the economy does better under the Democrats than the Republicans. But if you go back, it just seems that the economy does better under the Democrats.
Healthcare.
Liberal in healthcare. We have to take care of people that are sick.
Universal health coverage.
I love universal. Hillary Clinton, I think, is a terrific woman. I'm a little biased because I've known her for years. I live in New York. She lives in New York. And I've known her and her husband for years, and I really like them both a lot. I think she really works hard, and I think she does a good job. And I like her. She's a really good person and woman.
It depends upon what the meaning of the word is. Yes.
All right, so what do you think of that? It was a pretty good little montage they put together there. He's got a good production team, that's for sure.
He does have a great production team, and I mean, hell, you got Donald Trump saying he identifies as a Democrat and Democrats ran the country better and Hillary Clinton's a wonderful woman and he believes in universal health care. I mean, these are all, it's the second time I've dropped my phone doing this. Let's just keep on going. These are all things that clearly people should be ripping him apart over, and it's fantastic that Rand is leading the charge and Rand's putting out this ad about him because Donald talked about it, that night. I think like the next day he was speaking in New Hampshire and he addressed it, and that's the CNN thing we both saw.
That's right, and it's true. It's gotten Rand some attention. I mean, that was the only 2-minute piece on Rand Paul that day, I bet, on CNN. So for better or for worse, and if people start to look into that and start to say, oh yeah, this Trump guy, he really is, a joke. He obviously was a Democrat forever, and it's just, for whatever reason, running as a Republican now. Maybe they'll say, oh, and it was Rand Paul that showed me the light, and now I'll listen to him. Now I'm a libertarian and bring the troops home. And
we can only hope.
And they're all going to go read Murray Rothbard and become good libertarians, and
that's how it all rolls out.
Move into New Orleans and take classes with Walter Block.
That's how the dream comes together, man.
That's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
All right, so there's just one more item we're going to briefly touch on here, and hey, you're the expert. You tee it up for me.
All right, here you go. So what's happened now is that Rand Paul, obviously senator from Kentucky. He is running for president. Kentucky, my sweet home. So he's running Kentucky for senator now. His re-election is going to be coming up. And it comes up for senator. And, of course, he's also running for president. Now, he still wants to be a senator if he's not going to be president.
Especially now that it doesn't not look
It may not happen. Yeah, so it's important for him to have his name on that ballot. But in Kentucky, where this basically it's going to come together as a primary vote, it's going to be his name on the ballot for senator. And his name in the ballot, there we go, for president.
Except it can't be because that's against Kentucky law.
Yes, I think
so. That's a scenario.
Yep, exactly. Marrying your sister legal, same name for two different positions on the ballot, illegal.
Not gonna do it.
Not gonna happen. So Rand has proposed that they change the rules, and he's appealing to people and saying, "Look, I'd like you to change it so that it's a caucus rather than a primary, which then would make it legal to do."
The way to skirt. And on top of that, it's probably better for a candidate like Rand Paul, who might have an organized grassroots campaign, to have a caucus system.
Precisely. So it helps him in a lot of ways. And he's even offering to pay for the change, which they're saying is going to cost $500,000 when it's all said and done to push through. Now, that in itself, I think, is impressive because it ties into the whole, Paulian viewpoint of, we want to give people back as much as possible as far as money. I know Ron Paul consistently gave money back. I believe Rand has also given money back from his salary. And, basically saying, taxpayers, keep your money. We don't want big government waste. Rand Paul's got his waste report as well. This is showing people he's putting his money literally where his mouth is. And he wants to give it back through different fundraising methods.
Like his money or personal money?
It's coming from it's coming from campaign funds, but also it's coming from people that would be representing, I believe, him at the caucus. I've got the details.
I mean, he's not just whipping out his Amex Gold card for this, is he?
No, I'm hoping he has a black card by now, but
I don't. That's how far away I am from having these things. I don't even know which is better.
Right, but he's he does have a plan in place, and he breaks it down. Let me see. So he's breaking it down. Essentially, what it is he said he's going to put $250,000 to a state GOP account. I don't know where that's coming from exactly. Maybe that's his own. He also promised to raise or transfer another $200,000 to the committee at a later date. That I'm guessing this is going to be campaign funds, since you raise money for campaign financing anyway. And then the last part would be an additional $150,000 to $225,000, which is raised by charging fees on candidates who participate in the caucus, should it be ratified. So what do you think about this?
Well, I mean, are they just changing this rule for him specifically? I mean, they don't know. It
would essentially be a change just for him. Yeah, it would be a change just for him.
It's been a rule, but to me, it seems like more like you can't run for state senate and like Congress, like two offices at the same time. It's the same thing.
Which makes sense, except in this specific case where, pertaining to Rand, where you're like, well, I kind of want to do both,
Yeah, but I mean, how rare? I mean, this isn't like something that's happened before.
I don't think
it's
it's
like a law, and no one
occurrence.
does it because it's how rare is it that you're going to have? It would have to be this situation, basically.
Exactly.
A senator who's also running for president, because no other situation are you going to really run for two offices at once. That's basically the only situation.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what his point is. Now, there's a wrinkle to this, though.
I like wrinkles.
Ready?
Is there a conspiracy?
I think there could be a conspiracy. If it doesn't happen, there will be a conspiracy theory. Right. Number 6. So, at the end of the day, even if he gives all the money, even if the Kentucky GOP says, yeah, let's do it, The people that have to actually say, yes, you can do this, is the Republican National Committee.
Wah, wah, wah.
Oh, no.
And, oh, no, Mr. Stupid.
Now, Mark, tell the people the Paul history with the National Republican Committee and how they've given them love over the years in dealing with different events.
Ron Paul had some issues. I mean, I know a lot of during the Paul campaign, there was a lot of hinging on the caucuses, and I know there were a lot of times that the votes were shut down at caucuses. The Paul people were kind of, there are a lot of stories of some chicanery, shenanigans, and that sort of thing.
And rule changes, of course, too.
And then, of course, at the actual convention, they really, literally changed a bunch of rules so that Paul couldn't even
speak.
Couldn't get a speaking role, because if he had, I think it was over, five delegates counts or something like that. At the convention, he would have been guaranteed a speaking spot, but they changed that to 8 or something like that. So he couldn't even speak at the convention. Because, I mean, you don't want Mitt Romney up there as anything but the consensus nominee. They didn't want Ron Paul giving this counter speech about being against war and how the rest of the party sucks.
God forbid that anybody has a dissenting opinion within a political
Now,
party.
Rand gave a speech at that very convention, so that might imply that maybe Rand is a little more palatable to these guys. But it's one thing to be palatable and another thing to have support. So, I mean, so he can actually go through this whole process, spend the money, and then get shut down afterwards?
Well, I'm guessing they're going to have to say, I think he can have all the money in place. I'm sure he isn't going to say, here's the money, and then find out if they're going to ratify it or not.
I think a caucus system in general is better than a primary person.
I concur.
It's the active people. I mean, if you're going to have these things, if you're going to have the parties, it should make sense for the active people that to actually get involved to be going there arguing for their candidates, instead of just this thing where, I saw a news clip on the news, I'm a random person, I'm going to go to a poll and just click a button. I think I saw a clip of this guy making fun of Donald Trump, so I'm going to vote for him.
Right. So, we'll see if it happens. Doubtful. But I gave him a plus. How about you?
As much as I give you shit for pushes, I'm going to give this a push.
Oh, look at that.
I don't have a strong opinion on this. I mean, I do what you got to do. I mean, I don't know if he should get special exceptions per se, but at the same time, it's like, why even have? I mean, I'm not primarily opposed to the caucus system. I think that's better than the primary system, so it's probably makes sense for him to do it. But,
yeah, my major thing, the reason I gave him the Paul loss was mostly because I like the fact that he's like, look, I'll pay for it. I don't want to take money out. Although I guess the Republicans, it wouldn't even be taxpayer money necessarily. It would just be the Republican Party that would be paying for it.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know. Maybe I should take it away. I'll just leave it.
Oh, I almost got you to back down.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, maybe later.
All right, but still, overall, a pretty strong showing for Randall here after a few rough weeks.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. He's killing it in the Pauluses this week, yet his poll numbers are still down.
In the poll Us's.
The Pauluses are minuses. Yeah, exactly. So, but hell, kudos to him. He's probably only going to do better. The more Pauluses he gets, probably the worse he would poll, because that would just mean he's tying himself more to libertarian values rather than the broader GOP base.
There you go. Well, it's a long season ahead. There's plenty of time for the Rand campaign to take off. And then either way, there's plenty of time for us to analyze every single thing he says or does. So we will continue to do so on this show. And now in our next episode, coming up next Monday, we are returning. We're having another edition of Libertarians in Living Rooms Drinking Liquor, which my compatriot here next to me will not be a part of, but we will.
Still listen, though, guys. Still listen.
Have a very special guest. The one and only, the founder of the Blue Republicans, Robin Kerner. He has been on the show before, and this time he will be on the show drinking liquor with us.
Has he committed to drinking liquor?
I actually know what his drink is, even. So, I'm not going to give that away.
All right.
I don't want to spoil it.
All right, we don't want to spoil it.
I don't want to spoil the man. The first words on the show are going to be what he's drinking, so I don't want to spoil that before he...
People will just tune out immediately after that. But I heard it.
I don't need to hear this.
Been there, done that.
Anyway, if you want to find out what Robin Kerner drinks when talking about liberty, tune in next Monday for the latest Libertarians in Living Rooms Drinking Liquor. Find all our past editions of this show at lionsofliberty.com/podcast. If you want to discuss what you've been hearing us talk about, all this crazy Rand stuff, I want to invite you on Facebook. Of course, you can find our actual page, facebook.com/Lions of Liberty. You can also join our private group, the Lions of Liberty Forum. You can talk to myself and Brian McWilliams and many other people who are in there having conversations. And let me tell you, it gets a little contentious sometimes.
It does. I got contentious today because I object to using smiley faces in the forum. No smiley faces in the forum.
think it was a ironic wink face, actually.
I don't
These
know.
are
Whatever it
different things.
was.
I was typing on my phone. Who knows what emoji came out of me. Anyway, so yeah, connect with us there. Find us on the Twitter at Lions of Liberty. There's so many ways to stay in touch with us. And until next week, folks, you going to join me on this one?
I am.
Live long
and live free. Where do you think I can get a Rand Paul gimp suit at?
Oh, boy. Bye.
Head of editing and mastering is John Dahmer.